a very special place in the heart. It's an incredible thing. God bless the United States. It's a new form of vicious violation to our country.
All right, let's get right into it. How you doing, folks? Welcome back to another show, another episode of Blunt Politics. I'm Boston Brian. I appreciate you joining me back for the nightly episode. Hit that like, hit the subscribe button on the way in. I would very much appreciate it. It goes a long way in helping the channel. You'd be very surprised. Just a couple comments in the chat. You know, if you'd like to contribute, if you're in the financial position to do so, a couple ways you can do it. You can send in a Venmo, as you see here up in the corner. You can send in a super chat, super sticker in the chat. Sign up for a Venmo. Sign up for patreon.com/Boston Brian or a membership here. Just below me for a YouTube membership, or you can gift them out to fabulous people in the chat that are very deserving of those memberships. So I appreciate you guys. How's the chat doing? What up, Yakov? What up, Andrea? How are you? What's up, Jim? What's up, Leah? How are you? Elio, let's go. Lonzetta, Gamer, what's going on? Ice cold beverage. What a good name. What a good name. I mean, who could deny that as a good name? Everybody loves an ice cold beverage, right? Everybody loves an ice cold beverage. Moms, how are you? What's going on, Peter? What's up, sister? How's everybody doing? What's up, Jen? What's up, maybe tomorrow, Carol? All right, so basically tonight we're going to be diving into, we're going to be all around the world, all around in different news stories that have been in the eyes of the minds of the people today. We'll be talking about the Hong Kong high-rise fires, how ICE has finally hit home for somebody in the White House. That somebody being Caroline Leavitt. We'll see what happens there. The politicians basically saying the quiet part out loud as it pertains to what's going on with Venezuela and regime change. We got some different videos here I want to kind of hear and get into different. I know we've been kind of getting into the reaction and our reaction of the so-called peace deals, peace plans that have been floating around, in the news the last couple of days. So I've been kind of curious as to what the Ukrainian citizens, we've heard from Volodymyr Zelensky, you've heard from Donald Trump, you've heard from some of the Russian people, Steve Witkoff, all of them, but we haven't heard from, what the Ukrainian citizens themselves think about the peace plans and what's been going on with Steve Witkoff and him coaching and helping Russia. So we'll be speaking about that, the Georgia election, the election case in Georgia that has been thrown out. We'll be discussing that as well. And obviously, I think we'll start it off where most people were kind of paying attention to. Let me throw this on the screen, which was the shootings in D.C. today. Let me see here. It's going to be one of these. I'm not sure. This one right here. I'll throw this on the screen. Because there was also conflicting, a lot of conflicting reporting going on lately. A lot of conflicting reporting going on in the media. It was reported that these National Guard troops that were shot in D.C. today were first in critical condition. Then it was reported that they were dead. Then it was reported that they weren't dead. They were back in critical condition. So I think this is the most up-to-date kind of, there might be one more that I could put on here. But I'll see if I can find that in the background. But this one was from just about 2 hours ago. I think there was one from 16 minutes ago, kind of giving us the same thing. And I know that there were some updates as to who the suspect was. I think there was the investigators believe that the suspect was an Afghan national who entered the U.S. in September 2021, has been living in Washington State. 2 law enforcement officials and a person familiar with the matter said. So I think the officials, the officials named him as Ramanullah Lakhanwal, but authorities were still working to fully confirm his background, they said. So just to kind of give the update, I don't think that's actually in this one, but let's see if we can kind of dive into this news story again. 2 National Guard troops shot in Washington, D.C. today. Needless to say, obviously terrible situation. Obviously hope they pull through. Obviously hope that they're, as okay as humanly possible, but they shouldn't be there in the first place. They shouldn't be there standing on street corners in our cities, for this to happen, right? It shouldn't be happening in the first place. They shouldn't be putting themselves in harm's way. There are different, agencies, different police forces that are tasked with doing things like this and, handling things like this. So they shouldn't have been in the position there to expose themselves in the first place. But obviously, unless anything has changed since, I last saw it, obviously, we're hoping that they pull through and are as well again as humanly possible. Let's dive into this, and then we'll get into some of these other news stories. Again, the high-rise fire in Hong Kong is just incredible to see. horrendous, a horrendous sight. Obviously, the Georgia election case. And then what Caroline Levitt, at least her family's going through. So let's dive into this. I appreciate it. Hit that like button. I'm Boston Brian. This is Blunt Politics. You're going to get it blunt. You're going to get it, without a filter, and that's what you're here for, I assume. I mean, the title kind of gives it away, so I appreciate it. Let's get into this.
As we come back, we can tell you that the crews on the ground right now are holding a news conference. There is the D.C. mayor. Let's listen in.
There's no indication that there was any other suspect. The one suspect that was involved in this incident, they were shot during the interaction, and they were transported to the hospital for treatment.
Mayor, does this validate the need for the National Guard here in D.C.?
What we know, Andrea, is that this is a targeted shooting. One individual who appeared to target these guardsmen, that individual has been taken into custody.
Mayor, can you tell us any more details on the condition of the two National Guardsmen and whether or not anyone else was injured? And a quick question follow-up for the FBI director. You said that we'll make sure we find the perpetrators for this act. So just to clarify, the person believed to be responsible is in custody and there are no other suspects.
Sure, so I can start out. Again, Chief Carroll from MPD. So both the individuals, the guard members, they are in critical condition in a local hospital at this time being treated. At this point, we have no other suspects.
So that was the update after, I believe it was the West Virginia governor that had originally put out on social media that the two National Guards members had passed. I guess he had gotten bum information and had to kind of retract his statement. Put it out there that he was wrong. So this was kind of, them coming out to correct the matter, correct the fact. I think this one I can put on from Fox News was the most recent one that I saw as far as updates on this situation. Again, didn't even go as far as the AP here, which Jen was nice enough to send me just before we went on to kind of, inform me as to what the investigators were talking about as far as the suspect. But let me put this on the screen. Let's see if I can make this a little bigger. But yeah, this was at least the most recent one that I saw coming on here. I think this was probably, I'd say, half hour ago at this point.
Jason, good evening to you on this Thanksgiving Eve. A pretty horrific scene. Just a few blocks happened from where I am in downtown D.C., just a block or two away from the White House. It was about 2 o'clock this afternoon that a gunman went up to two National Guard members who were in town from West Virginia. They've been on this mission to help clean up the nation's capital and opened fire. While investigators have yet to say what his motive is.
Yes, as the chat is pointing out right now, Kash Patel, I just want to update everybody. Kash Patel did manage to wrangle away the private jet from his girlfriend somehow. Luckily, it was free today. She didn't have to go to Burberry in fucking, I don't know, bumhole, Wisconsin because of some fucking weird reason or, to some event. So he was able to wrangle and strangle and, rip away that private jet from his girlfriend. So luckily he managed to, to make the press conferences and the scenes. Didn't do a damn thing, a damn lick of work or investigatory help or anything like that. But he was able to put on his FBI hat and stand in front of cameras. Luckily, he did get the private jet turned around just as he was probably going to visit his girlfriend for the third time today in like a different part of the country.
We just heard moments ago from our Fox colleague, David Spun, who's our Justice Department correspondent, who was able to confirm that this is being investigated as a potential act of terrorism.
Now, when I heard that, when I saw this little brief update and I heard that, my first thought went to somebody Middle Eastern, right? Somebody that, right off the jump, Fox News would kind of, be loving to report this one out. It seems like with the name that's been released, that kind of has been proven to be true in this instance, but obviously more to be confirmed, more details to come as far as that is concerned.
Have the suspect's identity at this point. That information could likely trickle out in the hours to come because that suspect is still alive, even though he was struck by gunfire as well by the arresting officers and the service members that were simply rushing to the scene to help their fellow patriots, the people that were out here. The shooting happened in outside of a metro station called Farragut West. If you're familiar with D.C., this would be on the north side of the White House, just about 2 blocks away. Traditionally on a Wednesday,
2 blocks away from the White House, you know what I mean? Fucking hell.
Like today, it would be packed with people, but given the holiday, the government winding down for the holiday itself, it was fairly quiet. But a number of people were in the building surrounding where the shooting took place.
Yeah, so he goes on to talk about some of the eyewitness account after the fact, but it's it's a shame. You know what I mean? Obviously, we hope that these National Guardsmen, as far as I've last seen reported, are still in critical condition, still in the hospital. Hopefully, they not only pull through, but recover as to be as healthy as humanly possible. Like I've said a few times now. But obviously, we have to reckon with the fact. We have to bring up the fact that they should not be there in the first place. Right. This is not something that is, under their duties, they're tasked with, that they should be sitting on, the Washington, D.C. street corners for any Joe Schmo to walk up and harm or attack. Right. It's obviously not going to do anything to go to, to the talk that they're not needed there. Obviously, this is going to give fuel and add fuel to the fire for Donald Trump, as he's probably put out on True Social. I have no doubts. Coming out here with strong words and threats to whoever perpetrated this. But it's just we have to reckon with the fact that this shouldn't have happened, but also hoping that these National Guardsmen pull through and are okay. And obviously we hope that the person who did this is held accountable and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And I'm sure that's exactly what's going to happen, considering he's in custody. So that's just one of the news stories that people were talking about and looking at today. That's probably the most up-to-date information that I've got on the situation at this point. I know it's been crazy with kind of the conflicting report, and as I've already mentioned, but before it was they had already passed, and like I said, with the governor of West Virginia bringing that out and putting it out on social media, then the media ran with that, and the media had to kind of retract their statements. It's been kind of a shit show as far as reporting is concerned. But that brings us on to the next story, which we got a lot of frustrating stories, I don't know, kind of a lot of stories that'll make you frustrated and pissed off at the same time, and then we got stories that'll be both. This is kind of one of those both. This is one of those heart wrenching but also frustrating stories about the fire in Hong Kong. I mean, 32-story high-rise buildings. I think the last death toll was somewhere around 40. It's, the fire was still burning off, in case you haven't seen that or any footage of it. I'll just play this kind of short news clip. It's only 2 minutes long, just to kind of get you up to speed, up to date on what's been happening over there. I mean, just incredible sights of, like I said, 32-story buildings all jammed in together, covered in bamboo scaffolding, which they believe was a main cause, a main factor in how these buildings went up so quick, as far as the flames are concerned, and how it spread so quick. So check this out. This is kind of crazy, but obviously this is something that people were talking about today, so I wanted to bring it up to you guys, just in case people have not been made aware or weren't kind of paying attention to this side of the news.
Now to Hong Kong and a devastating and deadly high-rise fire. You're taking a live look at the scene. The fire has now been burning for about 14 hours.
Yeah, at least
14 hours. I mean, look at that.
207.
Look at that right there. I mean, that's crazy. And you can see the green that's covering the building is I would say, kind of like the wind protection on the outside of the bamboo scaffolding. Obviously just not a great idea to, surround and engulf a building like that in flammable material. I think they said this is like one of Hong Kong's worst fires in something like 20 to 30 years. But yeah, you can see the kind of the beginning of the devastation that was to take place in those 8 buildings, all within very close proximity to each other. But yeah, I think they said something like 4,000 to 5,000 residents. I think, the last that I saw was a death toll somewhere around 40 people. I'm sure that's going to go up as time goes on. But check this. I mean, it's just crazy sights.
70 people are still missing after flames roared through several high-rise apartment buildings. Investigators are now looking into if the bamboo scaffolding along the exterior of the building helped spread the fire with such intensity. Anchor Bill Ritter has the latest.
I mean, I know they kind of have to report it that way, like the investigators are looking into, but I don't think it takes a fire marshal, right? I think fucking Fire Marshal Bill himself could look at this photo, could look at this image, look at this video and be like, you know what? Yeah, I think that fucking flammable scaffolding, wrapped all over these buildings probably had something to do with it, considering that's how the flame is spreading right there. I mean, it doesn't take, like I said, Fire Marshal Bill himself could point that one out. So, I mean, I understand until it's, determined that way to kind of save their ass, they kind of have to report it that way, but it seems pretty obvious in this case that it definitely had something. Oh, JD, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate that. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours as well. I appreciate that. We'll be on tomorrow. I'm not sure how long we'll be on for tomorrow, but we definitely want to pop on and say the Happy Thanksgiving and, kind of shoot the shit for a little bit. Maybe take a look at what's going on in the news if there is any. But yeah, thank you, JD. I very much appreciate that. Appreciate your existence here at the Blunt Politics atmosphere. So we appreciate you, dude. Thank you so much. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it doesn't take much. So it goes on. It gets worse.
Into if the bamboo scaffolding along the exterior of the building helped spread the fire with such intensity. Anchor Bill Ritter has the latest.
It is so much more than horrific.
And this is something after 10 to 14 hours of those buildings burning. You can see now it's basically, at least on the inside of all of these, just totally engulfed in flames. And as one of the reporters comes on, I forget if it's in this report or not, if it's in another one, but, undoubtedly still people trapped in the building here, in the buildings, I should say.
The deadliest Hong Kong fire in 2 decades. Columns of flames and thick smoke.
Oh no, some are inside. Oh my God.
At least 3 dozen killed, but many more, upwards of 300, still unaccounted for. All of the tower blocks on fire. The publicly subsidized housing complex.
I still don't understand. I haven't seen anything of wind reports or anything in the area, but I mean, are the buildings that close together? You think if one caught on fire, it would take a long time. You would think, I'm just thinking from outside the box that you'd think it would take a lot for it to jump from building to building. But, again, that's probably dealing with some of the building codes that we have here in the United States and distance between buildings and this and that. Obviously, this material would never be allowed to be used as scaffolding in the U.S. But, it just, I don't know, it's crazy to me that 8 of those buildings could catch up like that. Again, even if one did have an issue. But, just goes to show how regulations and, some of these rules and laws that we have here go to serve a purpose to save many, many lives. And it's times like this and it's instances like this and tragedies like this that, kind of make you thankful for OSHA and kind of make you thankful for some of these regulatory agencies and regulations that have put in place for a reason, But yeah, just crazy to see, as you heard reported, over 300 people still unaccounted for, nearly 40 dead. Craziness.
The flames Wednesday afternoon in the northern district of Hong Kong. 32 stories, 2,000 apartments, more than 4,000 residents. And making flames so difficult to fight, these towers, like so many buildings.
Not only that, but it served as kind of like a barrier between the firefighters and the building where it was burning, right? The scaffolding, because as it was tumbling down, it's kind of piling up at the base of the building, making it more difficult for the firefighters to get in and out of the buildings to thus rescue the people in the building. So it just was a hindrance in a clusterfuck all around as far as, the scaffolding and it being, just a complete shit show. But yeah, hopefully most of the people that are still remaining missing do, make their way out and find themselves, rescued in that situation. But just a horrible situation. And another thing that was kind of hitting the news today that people were talking about that goes, into this next, as long as we're keeping up with the bad news, we might as well go into this one as well, because this kind of, really pissed a lot of people off on this one. It just seems like, nobody wants to step to Donald Trump the way that Donald Trump should be stepped to. No court, no prosecutor, very few and far between are the people that kind of step up and do the right thing when it comes to standing in the way of Donald Trump. And, this new prosecutor or the new people in charge here in the Georgian election fraud case, dismiss that not only against Donald Trump, but also, Rudy Giuliani and these other people that were involved and now off scot-free in their involvement in trying to overthrow a free and fair election. And again, this is just a short NBC clip, about 2 minutes and 50 seconds to kind of get us, up to speed and detail, maybe why that was going on. And not only that, but who this is, meaningful for. So what do you say we dive into this real quick? Again, just frustrating all around to see that these assholes are going to, again, get away with murder in broad daylight. Just something that we saw happen, something that we saw take place, something that there's ample evidence to, but apparently the state of Georgia is unwilling to go through a long court case to uphold and fight for democracy. They don't want to, I guess, butt heads with the president at this time. I know you can't do it with the president, but it would still have an effect on people like Rudy Giuliani. Not only that, but when Donald Trump gets out of office, there's no reason why he shouldn't be prosecuted as well. So, all right, let's dive into this, get this out of the way, and then we can go on to a more, I want to say, I'm not going to say a lighter story, but something that kind of strikes home for the White House. Finally they have come for their own. But yeah, let's dive into this one.
Tracking for years now, a judge has ended the Georgia election interference case against President Trump and his co-defendants. It comes after the prosecutor who took over the case said he was dropping those charges. You may remember this was the last criminal prosecution the president faced, stemming from his efforts to subvert the 2020 election. Joining us now, NBC News Chief Justice and National Affairs correspondent Kelly O'Donnell. Kelly,
and in case, I mean, she'll go on to explain here, but just in case anybody is, having trouble remembering, just because of so much has happened in between, that was the, the Fonnie Willis case there.
Took over the case after Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis was disqualified. Why did he drop these charges?
Well, good to be with you, Zinkley. And he says that he has reviewed the information and he does not believe it is in the interest of the people of Georgia.
He does not believe it's in the interest of the people of Georgia. What about the people of America? You know what I mean? What about, the citizens of this country that, again, watch these crimes happen, watch these actions happen in front of their face, on television, in front of cameras, in front of microphones, on record, on tape, recorded, right? What about all the people that watch that happen? Again, I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's a money thing and they're scared about how much money they're going to have to throw out this if there's a long drawn out process with all of these individuals that are involved. I don't know. But to say that it's not at the best interest or for the best interest of the people of Georgia is complete and utter horseshit. It seems to me like you're just utterly capitulating in this and don't want to fight, don't want the headache, don't want to deal with it because it's high profile people. You just don't want the attention in this case, right? Or it's somebody you may agree with. I still don't know.
Bring this prosecution and continue it for what could be years to come, especially against a sitting president of the United States and an array of other co-conspirators who were alleged in this indictment that has now been dropped. This is a significant win for President Trump. He has responded and talked about the fact that this is in the category of what he says has been political persecutions and lawfare. So a lengthy post from the president on that. And the prosecutor who was brought into the case and was searching for a replacement for Fonnie Willis, who was disqualified from continuing in the case because of a personal relationship she had with someone she assigned to work on the case. He came into the job after he could not find any other prosecutor willing to take it on. And after reviewing that, he went to the court today and the judge agreed to drop the case. And in part, the prosecutor said...
So he couldn't find anybody to take it on and then said himself, kind of went out with this, meaningless, we don't want this because it's not to the benefit of the people of Georgia bullshit. But, I guess if you can't find a prosecutor to prosecute a case, then there is no case. I mean, there's nothing more to that. So, it's just sad to see that we didn't have somebody that was willing to step up, or because of, directed attacks at people like Fonnie Willis and what's happened to her, and people like Letitia James and James Comey, might have gone a long way in making sure that people, prosecutors did not step up to that position because they didn't want their families subjected to that. They didn't want their, their spouses subjected to the constant media barrages and the media coverage. Donald Trump going at him day after day, the threats by Republican politicians. This all, this stuff that happens on a day-to-day basis does serve a purpose. Every now and again, it does help them, win a specific situation. And it seems like this is one of those situations where the threats against all of these, what they deem as political opponents, but just judicial officials, right, as serve the purpose. There, as you hear here, there's not a prosecutor willing to take up the case. Therefore, this guy has to come up with some, meaningless bullshit about, it doesn't represent or is not to the benefit of the people of Georgia. So we're just going to throw this out, and all of these people that committed crimes in broad daylight in front of your face are just going to get to walk free, laugh it off and tell you I told you so. Meanwhile, they're going on to Fox News, they're going on to OAN, RSBN, Newsmax, and talking about, political weaponization, talking about persecution and, how they weaponize the justice system against them, and they're getting off scot-free. So, just another frustrating aspect of our judicial system here. Just another kind of blow to democracy, a blow to trying to stop Donald Trump in his tracks from doing shit just like this again in the upcoming, whether it be midterms, whether it be general election. I mean, who knows? You know, some people are sure, some people are unsure what's going to fucking happen. Is he going to not? You know, he kind of led us into a little bit of, a little bit of sense of a sense of security there, where he said on Air Force One, yeah, I know I'm not going to run, I can't run, yeah. But has he ever stuck to his word before? No. So I'm not holding my breath on that one. So this was just another frustrating aspect, of the news cycle, to hear that this guy and the other assholes were going to walk away scot-free because, there's not a prosecutor willing to step up and take this case on. And it's damn sure not for lack of evidence. I can tell you that much. Right? Yeah. Come on, cholesterol. You have one job. Right? All right, so let's move on to, again, this story that people have also been talking about. And, this kind of, it's very reminiscent of the poem, And Then They Came For Me, right? There was nobody left. I didn't fight for anybody else. There was nobody left to speak up for me when they came for me. So they eventually took me in the end, too. It's a Martin Niemöller. I was called out when I called it a poem before, so I'll just call it, I don't know, a paragraph. I don't know what you want me to call it, but, call it what you will. But yeah, this is striking right at the heart of the White House here, because it seems like Caroline Leavitt has been wrapped up in some ICE issues, right? Her family is wrapped up now in these ICE issues. ICE apparently doesn't give a fuck if you're a family member of the White House press secretary. And it's kind of going to be interesting to see whether or not Caroline Leavitt cares about this, or whether or not she initiated this to kind of pad the stats of ICE if she doesn't like this person, because I think, as reported, we'll hear now that she hasn't talked to this person in a while. But yeah, it says ICE arrest mother of White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt's nephew. So the way that's worded, I almost shit myself when I first saw it. When I first saw it, I thought it said ICE arrest the mother of White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt, and I was like, what? What? Excuse you? What happened? But it's her nephew. We'll go through it here. But yeah, somebody actually directly related to Caroline Leavitt has been arrested by ICE, and it seemingly was like totally unrelated. Just it seemed to be like a happenstance type of thing. But we'll take a look at this, and again, it will be interesting to see Caroline's reaction. Is she going to support this? Right? Is she going to come out and defend her family member? Is she going to come out and, basically say, hey, no, I sent ICE there because I don't like that bitch, and we can pad the numbers here. Looks like Tom Homan's having some trouble deporting some people, so I'll pad them with my own family, right? I don't know. I wouldn't put it past her.
Seems no one is immune from those immigration raids, not even the family of the White House press secretary. A woman with a family connection to press secretary Caroline Leavitt is now being held by ICE. Her attorney confirms she is a native of Brazil. She is the mother of Leavitt's nephew. Scripps News investigative correspondent Patrick Terpstra is live in our D.C. newsroom. And Patrick, does she face deportation?
She absolutely does, Del. She is locked up right now in Louisiana.
Is Caroline going to step in? Is she going to use her, special privileges, her special power, and her, proximity to the White House, proximity to the president to get her, I don't know, family member out of this trouble, where she wouldn't do that to other people in the same problem? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see the way that she handles this. I haven't seen anything yet where she's kind of responded or said anything, at least on camera yet. But I'll be sure to look out for what she has to say on this. I'm sure, if she said it already and I missed it, I apologize. But, I'll have to dig that one up. But it's still kind of crazy to see this is hitting home. Obviously not a direct descendant or, a blood family member here that we're talking about. But, the mother of the nephew, at least. So, somebody that definitely, and I think it, like I said, it goes on to say that they haven't spoken in a long time, which, who knows, maybe Caroline Leavitt did send the ICE to her house. Maybe this is like her way to get back at this lady for something that happened in the past. I don't know. Wouldn't put it past these people. I can tell you that much. These vindictive, corrupt assholes using power at their disposal, to make sure that they can gain and profit from it.
Waiting deportation hearings. Her name is Bruna Caroline Ferreira, and she is the mother of an 11-year-old boy who is also the nephew of White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt. She shares custody of that 11-year-old with Leavitt's brother, Michael. The two of them are still in close contact but do not live together. All of this began with that traffic stop earlier this month in November in the suburbs of Boston.
How can the kid live with the brother, but Caroline Leavitt doesn't speak to the mom? Did I miss that?
an 11-year-old boy who is also the nephew of White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. She shares custody of that 11-year-old with Leavitt's brother,
So Caroline
Michael.
Leavitt's brother also has split and joint custody of this child. Oh, so clearly something happened in the. So again, I'm not ruling out the fact that Caroline Leavitt sent these people, put them on the trail, maybe to help her brother get, full custody of the child. I don't know. Would you put it past her? Was she wearing her cross? Anybody? Was she wearing her cross the last time she was spotted in public? Had anybody seen Caroline Leavitt? Somebody recent photos. But would you put it past these people in this administration to sick ICE on this woman to help her brother get full custody of the child? You know what? I don't know.
Well,
That's a good discussion in the chat. That's a good discussion for the chat. What do you guys think? Is that plausible? Definitely a possibility, definitely plausible, but do you think that's something she would do? I don't know the relationship. I don't know the ins and outs and the details of, why maybe they're divorced or separated or whatever they are, or why there has to be a joint custody aspect going on. But, typically it's not the, nice things didn't happen in order for that to transpire, to take place. So I don't know.
Are still in close contact but do not live together. All of this began with that traffic stop earlier this month in November in the suburbs of Boston, where she was ultimately detained by ICE and sent down to Louisiana. According to the White House and the Department of Homeland Security, she is a, quote,
that last picture. I think I know what that is. I think I know what beach that is.
According to the White House and the Department of Homeland Security, she is a, quote, criminal illegal alien, something that the attorney disputes. The attorney representing Ferreira saying that she came to the United States as a child in the mid-90s.
So basically the way it's being reported, the way it's being represented is this was completely unrelated to her relationship or, anything having to do with Caroline Leavitt, and it was something to do with a traffic stop, apparently, that took place in and or around Boston. But again, I don't know. Who tipped those cops off to begin with. I'm looking at Caroline Leavitt until proven otherwise. I'm telling you that. But again, just a clear indication of nobody is safe, right? A clear indication that, it doesn't matter, who doesn't matter who you're related to. If you're brown, if you have a Spanish sounding last name, if you're here and you got, your T's on fucking crossed and your I's on dotted on every single one of your papers for some reason, then you yourself are at risk. You yourself could go. Doesn't matter how much money you got in the bank. Doesn't matter anything anymore. You know what I mean? And it's only a matter of time before it strikes home for a lot of people that haven't been affected yet by this. It's coming, especially if it continues the way that it's going in this country right now. It's only a matter of time. But yeah, Caroline Leavitt here. I'll be surprised to see what she does. I'll be surprised to see what she does in this instance. If she cries wolf, if she kind of feigns outrage, if she steps in to help, what's going to happen, because it'd be interesting to see if she'll use her special privileges, say just hypothetically, if for some reason she did want to step in and do something, to see if she'll use her special privileges in this instance, while also applauding, the deportation of others just like this woman as well. So again, hypocrisy definitely could be possible on the, on the horizon here from Caroline Leavitt, because that's typically what comes out of her mouth anyway. But yeah, let's dive into this next story, which is a wild one, ladies and gentlemen. This is a wild one. I mean, we'll play here a Kyle Kalinske video because he plays a good amount of the interview from this Republican politician that I wanted to show you anyway. And he also kind of gives some great, insights and highlights and stuff in the background as well. But he brings up a great point where, remember the time when politicians used to say, we're going to go to war for, good reasons? They'd be lying to our faces. It would really be about the oil and the natural resources, but they'd at least be saying it'd be for, democracy or to, save a population or some bullshit. You know what I mean? Remember when they at least would lie? That time is gone. They're now saying the quiet part out loud, as we've been warning here about the Venezuela situation with the fucking, almost the entirety of the U.S. Navy in and around the area, the threats, the CIA, activating the CIA in Venezuela, talking about removal, talking about fucking regime change. So we've been warning about this for a long time, but it's typically something where in front of the cameras, at least the administration would come out and say, they'd bullshit, they'd do their political rigmarole, that's not basically saying, not coming out and saying straightforwardly that they want regime change or want Maduro out, but that's exactly what they're saying behind closed doors. That's exactly the sentiment that they're putting out, in the right channels, on the right channels. But this is fucking wild to hear this Republican politician here, basically say the quiet part out loud and say that we're going to go in there and take over the oil companies. We're going to take over the oil reserves. You know what I mean? We're just going to, the oil, it's going to be an oil gluttony. We're just going to, all of the oil companies and all of these different companies in the United States, it's going to be incredibly we're just going to go down and take over Venezuela and take over the oil. Like she was like proudly saying this on Fox Business. So here's a Secular Talk video. We don't have to go through a ton of it. We don't have to go through the whole thing. I might skip through to where he, kind of goes through the portions on Fox Business. But yeah, this is wildly. This is kind of like where we are, in politics today, and how far, again, the Republicans and Donald Trump have led us down this path of like degeneracy, and like how it's good to be brutal, how it's good to be, like just as fucking terrible a human being as possible if you're a Republican, and just to say the quiet part out loud. But all right, let's check this out. Oh, thank you so much for becoming a new member. Be Better 2024 on. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. And anybody signing up to become a new member, I appreciate you as well. There's also Venmo up in the corner if you guys are in the financial position to do so. If you're not, don't worry about it. You can hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. That's all free. Throw a comment or something in the chat. That would be fantastic as well. But thank you to everybody that has sent a Venmo or signed up at patreon.com, became a channel member just underneath me, or any other way that I have to get through this self-promotional bullshit. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
That has infuriated me watching what Trump is doing in Venezuela is that the media has been so pathetic. I mean, everybody's been pathetic. The Republicans are just cheering it on as it happens. The Democrats are not really opposing it in any serious way. But the media, whose job it is to like tell you the truth and give you facts and information, they're just sort of parroting whatever the steelman case is for war with Venezuela and regime change in Venezuela. Like, they take at face value that, oh yeah, Maduro is the head of this like narco-terrorist cartel that we just made up.
Not only that, but they also make it seem like they don't know any better, right? They make it seem like they're coming from this and talking about the mainstream media and how they're reporting on this, just to kind of, add on to what he's saying there is, the mainstream media makes it seem like they don't know any better. Like they're just gonna, okay, we know nothing about this, so we're just gonna take what Donald Trump, we're just gonna take what Caroline Leavitt, we're just gonna take what Pete Hegseth is saying at face value. We're not gonna kind of critique it. We're not gonna dive into it. We're not gonna, anything that we hear that's total bullshit. We're gonna put that out there and let people kind of figure it out on their own, right? We don't know any better, so until I'm proven wrong, until I know otherwise, I'm gonna say it as Donald Trump and his regime are putting it out there. When in fact, there's multiple, different examples, multiple different pieces of evidence to suggest that what the regime, the Trump regime is doing and saying is completely opposite to what they're saying in public. Like, you don't send 20%, 15 to 20% of the United States fucking Navy, B-52s, F-22s, F-35s, you don't send submarines, you don't send, fucking amphibious attack vehicle. Like, you don't send all that shit into an area for no reason, right? That is extremely costly. It's extremely dangerous to have your military within close proximity to another military or anybody that considers itself to be a hostile entity. Right. So, I mean, you don't do that for no reason. So the media and the way that it's doing this bullshit here of just, okay, we're just going to bring, whatever they're saying, let's put it out there. Yep. Another 6 boats taken out today, 32 people, but they say they're drug dealers. So we're just going to keep reporting it, as it's like, normal. We're just going to normalize this murdering people on video and playing it on a nightly news and then listening to Pete Hegseth tell us that they were all fucking narco terrorists, even though they're sending them back to their homeland, the people that survived the strikes.
But yeah, he's like destroying America with fentanyl, even though zero fentanyl comes from Venezuela. Like they're putting out the steelman case in a very similar way to when Bush and Cheney would say, oh, Saddam has weapons of mass destruction and he might use it on us. They would dutifully report in the New York Times, oh, Saddam has weapons of mass destruction and he might use it on us. We all look back now and we're horrified at how captured the media was by elite insider neocons.
And they're making the same exact mistake, and they have been for at least the last 10 years now, if not, far longer.
Same thing's happening now, and they're captured by fucking Trump idiots and everybody's acting like it's normal. So, yes, the same people that illegally bombed Iran and Somalia and Yemen are now plotting a regime change in Venezuela, and they murdered over 80 fishermen, bombed over 20 boats in terror attacks, and everybody's acting like it's normal. Well, guess what? Every now and then, you know who you get the truth from every now and then? Republican politicians. Because they're so high on their own supply that they feel like, oh, we could just say it and it's okay. We could just say it and people will agree. We can just say it and it'll be looked at as, a positive thing. Well, no, you're dating yourselves in your own, neocon, warmonger, imperialist bubble. And when you accidentally tell the truth, we all take fucking notice among us regular folk. So take a look at this. You had...
And again, regardless, I see the discussion going on in the chat. Regardless of what you think of Kyle or his reporting or who he goes after or who he doesn't go after, there's no denying, at least in this instance, that we can agree that what's going on is definitely not only what he's reporting, but the way he's reporting it is definitely true, especially as the way that the media characterizes and allows us and normalizes this bullshit. I don't think there's any denying that. So again, have your opinions, have your differences, have your discrepancies, whatever you want to call it with the reporting. But in this instance, I don't think that really is relevant, considering, it seems to be spot on and in consensus what we're all thinking in this instance anyway, and what we're seeing with our own eyes. But yeah, here's where he gets into the interview. This is, the main part of why I wanted to play this, just because he picks out the main instances, and it was better than us having to sit through the whole entire interview with fucking Maria Salazar or whatever her name is there. But yeah, this is where he plays it, and this is where she comes out with just the quiet part out loud, right? Just blatantly talking about going into Venezuela, taking the oil, how all the U.S. companies are going to have such a great time. Typically this is what's said behind closed doors. Like, this is what Dick Cheney and all those assholes would say, when the cameras and microphones weren't in the room, and then they would come out and bullshit the same way that, Caroline Leavitt and the rest of these people in the White House press corps are doing now. But typically not said on places like Fox Business. But again, as Kyle says here, makes our jobs a lot easier. Like when we go to tell people now that they're going in there just for the oil, we're going to do regime change. You understand that? We're going to war. We're going to send American troops into Venezuela, into hostile territory. Putting them at risk just so we can take their oil, even though it's been reported that Maduro has absolutely no problem with U.S. companies down there. There's U.S. companies down there now interacting and doing business as far as oil. So seems kind of, like a secondhand aspect to this, even though, even with all of what we know.
Republican Representative Salazar was on Fox Business, and listen to what you want to talk about saying the quiet part loud. This might be the clearest example of that I've ever seen. Watch this.
I would love to see a change in government. My wife's from Nicaragua. We know how terribly the dictators there rely on Venezuelan oil. But at the same time, a lot of Americans don't want actual U.S. participation in regime change in Venezuela. They would much prefer the Venezuelans to do it on their own. Do you think the pressure that Maduro has received will force him to...
What the hell is saying? Like, who in your daily lives do you guys run into that is like, what? I really want regime change in Venezuela. I really want Maduro out, but what I don't want is U.S. involvement. What I don't want is U.S. troops. What I really wish is that the Venezuelans would rise up against Maduro and overthrow him. That's what I really want, because that's what really matters in my daily life, right? It's not whether or not I have fucking gas in my car. It's not whether or not I can get the fucking kids to school. It's not whether or not I can make my third job I'm working today. You know what I mean? It's not whether or not I can put food on the fucking table, or if I have money to pay the babysitter, or if I break my fucking ankle or leg, what the fuck happens to me and my family? If I can pay for the hospital bills, right? Hopefully I stay healthy. Like, it's not that shit. What people are really worried about, and what they're talking about in the grocery lines, as they just spent their last fucking penny putting gas in their car, or again, fucking putting the cast on their kids' arms, or whatever it may be, buying the wheelchair, putting in the ramp at their house. Again, just in case you didn't get any help for that, through different agencies because they made it the loopholes too big, or they made you jump through too many of them to begin with. You can blame that, but it's just weird to me, because in the lines of the fucking grocery store and at different places that I am, I don't hear too many people being like, what I really need to see today is fucking regime change in Venezuela. You know what we need is the shitty oil that Donald Trump says can only be refined at one fucking oil refinery in Texas. right? If it's so shitty, why are we after it so much, right? If it's this fucking Venezuelan tar that they say it is, why do we have half the fucking Navy down there trying to take it? It just doesn't make sense to me. It's got to be something, got to be something else going on here. But again, here's the response from Maria Salazar, and this is just, again, it's fucking wild to hear this, and it's almost normalized to a point where you're gonna be like, well, that's not weird. They say that shit all the time, but it is fucking very much weird and very not normal to hear this type of shit.
Leave on his own.
Oh, I think Maduro is not Fidel Castro. Maduro is not a brave boy. So now that he has understood that he's on that very nefarious list of the terrorist organization, that the airspace above Venezuela has been closed off and the commercial airlines from the United States are not flying, he's understanding that we're about to go in. He understands that he is...
he understands that we're about to go in. Like, just openly talking about invading Venezuela. Right? I mean, does anybody not kind of, I know it's like, again, we've been so normalized and you guys have been, so into the news and so, on top of things, and I commend you for it. And I appreciate you for having the patience and having the perseverance to stick into the, the life of politics that you guys have, delved into for so long now. But can we all agree that it's not typical to hear a politician just openly talk about invading a country for natural resources? Like, that typically was something like we knew was happening, but we were always lied to by the government. The government would always try to cover it up as being for, some really fucking high, falutin reason that they were doing things, while in the background, they're really stealing the natural resources. Like, all wars aren't fought for natural resources, right? But anyway, typically not something you hear. It's just wild that, it's on Fox Business of all places. And not only that, but the Fox Business host that originally came in was like, yeah, I really want to see that guy out of here too. My wife's, I think he says Brazilian or something like that. So we'd really like to see that. We just want to see the people of Venezuela do it.
Has been our enemy for the last 25 years. Venezuela, for those Americans who do not understand why we need to go in, for three reasons. You're in Fox Business. Venezuela.
Okay, so this is... Again, this is a United States politician on Fox Business giving the United States citizenry 3 reasons why we need to invade Venezuela. Just in case anybody's just joining us and maybe have fallen behind a little bit. This is the 3 reasons that we need to invade Venezuela.
To go in for 3 reasons. You're in Fox Business. Venezuela, for the American oil companies, will be a field day because it will be more.
The number one reason she gives that we need to go to war with Venezuela, that we need American troops invading the shores of Venezuela to seize their fucking country, is so that the American oil companies can see their fucking time to shine down there and just take over everything, right? Pennies on the dollar for Venezuelan oil companies. Maybe now we're starting to understand why so many, oil companies and billionaires associated with oil companies are invested in Donald Trump's campaign, were invested, did invest, did help him win and succeed to win the presidency for the second time. Is it starting to make sense now? Maybe why that would happen, why they'd have so much interest in, I don't know, maybe putting a couple, maybe $20, $30 million into a fucking ballroom they have absolutely no use for and will see fucking absolutely no return from, at least that specific venture. Makes sense a little bit. Is it starting to come together? Why Palantir and maybe different defense contractors, might be willing to invest in a golden fucking ballroom? Makes sense?
More than $1 trillion in economic activity. American companies can go in and fix all the oil pipe, the whole oil rigs, and everything that has to do with the Venezuelan petroleum companies, or everything that has to do with oil and the derivatives.
Bro.
Anything that has to do with oil or the derivatives. So basically 1, 2, and 3 of the reasons she gave right now on Fox Business is oil related. Oil. So anybody that says that we're not invading Venezuela specifically for the oil and that it's because Maduro is this narco fucking terrorist thug. And when we've played on this show, we showed you the fucking percentages. Kyle even said it there that no fentanyl comes from Venezuela and a very fucking, minuscule amount of drugs actually comes from Venezuela. It's more of a fucking kind of, through line, to tell you the truth. But again, it's starting to make sense as to why these billionaires might be surrounding Donald Trump.
Bro, I've been following politics my whole life. I've been covering politics full time since 2012. You're not supposed to admit that part. Remember back during the George W. Bush days, we're like, bro, the war in Iraq is at least in part for oil. They're doing it for oil. They're trying to take the oil. And you'd say that, oh, fucking conspiracy theory, bro. What are you talking about? They would never do a war for natural resources like that. That's like the whole point of most of the wars is for natural resources. They would never do that. Now everybody knows, of course that's true. They're saying before even trying the regime change, they're going, yeah, we're going to steal the oil. This is all about the oil. But then you just undermine the whole, like, oh.
He's 100% right, though. He's 100% right. And I'll put on the next clip here of this lady, too. She keeps going on.
But I'm not dunsies yet, because later on in this same interview, it somehow gets weirder, bro. She admitted the whole thing. And then she also goes on to say this stuff.
So we have information that maybe the top echelon of the military forces in Venezuela may be with Maduro, and they're going to flee with him. But the middle and lower ranks are with the opposition. We're talking about that. This is going to be very similar to Pound.
I'm having flashbacks to the war.
So they just they're assuming that as soon as and who knows, possibly could be right. Just with the overwhelming force, I don't know. But to assume that okay, all we have to do is land a couple U.S. troops on the shores, and Maduro's going to flee with the entirety of the high command and all of the military. They're all just going to leave. They're not going to fight back. Nobody's going to shoot a shot. Not a shot's going to be fired. Meanwhile, Maduro's at his fucking his latest speech holding a sword, fucking come and take it. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think we're kind of living on different realities here. But yeah, just wild shit nowadays.
Iraq and Ahmed Shalabi, the person that they swore would be the next president of Iraq when Saddam Hussein fell, and he has popular backing. And the guy was a total fucking con artist. And then, when Saddam Hussein fell, he was fucking ousted out of the country too. Nobody wanted that guy. I'm having flashbacks to that.
I was there. I was a news reporter. And I remember when the Marines were walking in and the Panamanian girls were asking them to marry them.
Yeah.
I think it's very similar.
Yeah. No,
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. That's probably definitely what's going to happen. The Venezuelan women are just going to be throwing themselves at the U.S. troops on the shores saying, marry me, marry me. I'm sure there's just not going to be any bloodshed or, any U.S. troops in danger whatsoever. I mean, can you fucking imagine being this thick? Right? Being that thick, going on Fox Business and being like, okay, American people, let me give you 3 reasons as to why we're going to war. Oil, oil, oil. You're with me? No, we're not with you. That's my fucking nephew. That's my son. That's my daughter. That's my, my wife, my husband, whoever on those ships. Right? What the fuck are you talking about? Don't we have enough? We don't have enough oil here? Are you sure we don't have enough oil? I'm pretty sure we do. You know what I mean? Is there nothing else that we could do? Is there no other way that we can handle this without putting our troops in danger for your fucking, so you could, appease the oil conglomerate in the United States? Jesus Christ. All right. So let's dive into what might be, kind of the last story. We have a couple of different things to look into here, couple different clips. But, obviously this ongoing story, this ongoing debacle, just another situation where the reporting has been horrendous. It's just been, all over the place. Nobody really knows what's happening. That's pretty much, intentional. That might be for a reason. There's a 28-point plan. No, there's a 19-point plan. Nope, it's a 22-point plan. No, it's a 20-point plan. So, kind of all over the place here. We showed this morning. Was it this morning? I don't even know. It blends together. Either this morning or yesterday, we showed Donald Trump on Air Force One being questioned about this. We brought you up to speed on Steve Witkoff and the Bloomberg reporting of him coaching, just basically committing outright treason and helping an enemy not only get around our ally and get the better of our ally, but also how to get the better of our own president so they could get the most beneficial outcome. But yeah, if you haven't checked that story out, go back and check out the earlier show. We dove into that pretty well. Just another fucking crazy story to add onto the list of other crazy stories that this fucking regime has given us. But yeah, I just want to dive into here a little bit, because like I said, we've heard from Volodymyr Zelensky. We played his video, the latest video that he had out on this matter, on this subject. We heard President Donald Trump at in Air Force One. We heard from the Russian side, where we played Putin's kind of response to the peace plan, to his own peace plan, I should say. But we haven't heard, where do the Ukrainian people, what do the Ukrainian citizens think of what's going on? Where do they sit on all of this? So I kind of wanted to throw this on the screen, because this is Anna from Ukraine. And let me throw this. That's not the right one. This is the right one, though. This is Anna from Ukraine here, where she talks about Kremlin inside the White House Putin's hidden grip, a war in Ukraine. And, if you're not familiar with Anna from Ukraine, she does really good reporting. She is from Ukraine and in Ukraine, as you'll hear her say. But yeah, she does some very good work on this. If you're looking for, different people to watch and different people to get information from and insights from as it pertains to the war in Ukraine, then Anna is definitely somebody that I would recommend. But yeah, I just want to play a couple minutes of this just to kind of get her insights, her feelings, what she's feeling about this. Are the Ukrainian, because a lot of people asking, are the Ukrainian citizens at a level right now, at a position, at a time where they're so fatigued, where they're so done with this, that they're ready to maybe give in to more than, I don't know, maybe people outside of the United States would think they'd be willing to give into, right? I don't think that's the case. I think they're more resilient now than they ever have been. And that's why I've been continuously skeptical of this entire peace, so-called peace process that has been ongoing for the last couple of days. But yeah, I still see, the air of defiance, the look of defiance, right? The feeling that they're going to continue the fight, that this is, complete capitulation by not only the United States government, but clear treason on the behalf of people like Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff should be fired. Definitely not signing on to anything as far as the peace deals are concerned. So we're hearing one thing from one side, we're hearing one thing from another, and and a totally separate thing from people like, in the United States government. So it's all over the place as far as the reporting is concerned. But let's dive into it and hear it straight from, the citizens of Ukraine. Let's see what they're feeling. Let's see how they're feeling, and where they want this to go and what they feel about, the new reporting that about Steve Witkoff. So let's just check this out. We'll take a couple minutes of this, and then we have this one as well, where, somebody that we've watched a bunch of times, Georgi from Ukraine Matters, kind of gives his insights as to the traitor inside the White House as well. So curious as to what they feel, how they're feeling. So let's dive into it. I appreciate it. Slava Ukraine, Heroyam Slava. I appreciate all you guys. Make sure you hit that like button. I'm Boston Brian. This is Blood Politics. Thank you very much. What I probably should do is put on the, I should probably put on the correct, there we go. There we go.
Open this information.
And I should probably, it'd be good if I started from the beginning, would also be good.
Hello, guys, and this is going to be a very interesting conversation because we live in the truly historic times. We witness one of the biggest political and diplomatic scandals of the 21st century.
So you may just think that's like lefty propaganda, like that's just lefties being fucking hyperbolic, right? When they say, when I was kind of, putting this back onto like, World War II type of aspects where, we'd be helping the Nazis, defeat the fucking British in this instance, if you would kind of put like a one-to-one relation and kind of, figure it out and, figure out a different way to relate what's going on to people. That's how you'd put it. We were helping the Nazis. We're helping the Nazis. We took the Nazi wish list. We gave it to Britain, forcefully gave it to Britain with demands added on top of it. And now we're taking that as the basis for the negotiations in order to help Nazi Germany over our ally Britain. That's basically all you need to know about this whole thing. That's what's going on. So that's what we've been saying here in the States. But people also in Ukraine, people also across the pond, people also in other parts of the world saying and seeing the same exact thing, which is good. It's a good feeling to see that, what we're reporting here, the feelings that we have here in the United States are being seen and felt and heard by others all around the world. It kind of makes it seem like, you're not living in fucking an alternate universe. You do have some people in there that are seeing it as clearly as you are. So it's good to see.
Bloomberg published leaked conversation between the Russian so-called diplomats and real war criminals, seasoned FSB officers and spies like Ushakov and Dmitriev, and the so-called US envoy Witkoff, who openly advised them how to trick not just the EU allies, not just the Republicans in the United States, but Donald Trump himself. Witkoff advised Ushakov and Dmitriev how to, stop Trump from sanctioning Russia, how to push this composed in Russia peace proposal. Now it is proved and how to prevent the meeting between the US president and the president of Ukraine.
So even they know how historical this is, like how this is going to be seen and looked back upon. Like we say here all the time, like it may not, like we're living through it now. So we're kind of the frog in the boiling water as it pertains to like how we see it and view what's going on today. But when this moment in time is looked back on in, I don't know, 20, 25 years, maybe not even that long, people are going to be like, what in the hell was going on? Like, how did that possibly ever come to fruition? How did that ever, well, how is that ever a possibility that could possibly happen, right? Knowing what we know that has taken place in history and some of the heroes and some of the, some of the sacrifices that we've made in this country, like how did it ever get to this moment in time where we have Steve Witkoff actively helping an enemy over an ally, and then you have the White House backing him up basically at the behest of Donald Trump, right? It's, the president. It's fucking, it's definitely going to be something, history books are going to be writing about. You can be damn sure.
This plan failed. The conversations are published in Bloomberg, and 50, well, maybe 20 years ago, this would be a huge scandal and perhaps a great change.
And she's 100% right. I mean, just think, all the people in this chat that are old enough and have been paying attention long enough to politics for the last, 40, 30, 20 years at least. What kind of scandal would this have been 30, 40 years ago to hear that the so-called special envoy, right, in this situation was actively helping subvert democracy, was actively helping, our enemy over an ally? I mean, just think of what we're saying. I mean, is that not the definition of treason? Is that not the definition of treasonous behavior? I mean, what else do you categorize treason as besides helping the enemy over our country, helping the enemy over an ally? I don't is there a clearer definition? Is there a clearer fucking aspect to this? Is there a clearer example that we could point to besides fucking Benedict Arnold? I don't know. I'm not sure. We're all kind of so thrown off, and it's been so normalized. It's almost like, well, is it weird? Yes, it is fucking very weird. It is very out of character. It is very un-American. It is very treasonous for this to happen. So it's even people in Ukraine. It's people, in different places in Europe. I've also heard on the BBC. I've also heard on LBC, people saying exactly the same type of thing, just being absolutely fucking flummoxed at what's been going on in the reporting that's been coming out on this matter.
In the course of negotiations and US foreign policy, because we clearly see the traitors. And here I want to thank people of the United States who openly demonstrate they stand with Ukraine, even if they support Trump. I was very excited to learn that 76% of Trump supporters do not support Putin and support Ukraine in this war and allies. And even if we put aside this long-term friendship, shared values, and simply focus on, this business economic things, remember, Russia is collapsing. They have an empty budget and their GDP is smaller than the one of Italy or the one of Texas.
She makes a great point, too, because a lot of the talks here coming out of, these so-called peace negotiations or whatever is, we've heard Russia being allowed back into the G8, kind of Russia being steadily put back into the World Economic Forum and, different things like that where, we're trying to do business and set up business opportunities and economic, partnership with Russia. And here she brings up a good point. Like, why is the United States, why is Donald Trump fighting so hard to set up partnerships with a country that has a GDP the size of Texas, or like she said, GDP the size of fucking Italy, right? Basically just kind of doing enough to keep themselves afloat to keep the war churning on, right? Every factory, every person doing something to try to, help the war, or, the taxes that have been continuously going up in Russia going to be used towards the war, a substantial portion of their budget going to support the war. They're putting themselves in financial hole after financial hole. They're going through their gold reserves as well. But like, you got to ask, it begs the question, why would we be so willing to forgive them, to reward them with partnership with the United States and an economic powerhouse when they themselves were the aggressor in this matter? It kind of, it leads to, leads you to believe that maybe Vladimir Putin is still sitting on that fucking cassette tape or that VHS of fucking Trump blowing Bubba. The cassette tape. What'd I say? Cassette I don't even know what I said, but you know what I meant.
Why on earth do you want to sacrifice the EU market, the investment and defense potential of Ukraine for the sake of businesses with the Kremlin dictator and his bloody mafia friends who will trick you? So I'm really happy that this conversation leaked. And now, analyzing it, we can not only see the problems inside the White House, but actually we can identify the weakest points inside Russia, the most painful things for them that we must keep pressuring, because that peace proposal was meant to save Russia from its inevitable collapse. But God helped us. So let's discuss that conversations, what it means for the future of the negotiations, and most importantly, where do we have to continue sanctioning Russia? My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see Putin in The Hague, subscribe. I'm sure we will see that sometime really soon. And please share these videos to spread the truth. That's important. Once again, so many people, so many politicians, including JD Vance, now are trying to pretend nothing happened. And it's just a normal process when the US envoy calls directly Russian spies and advises them how to prevent the meeting between the Ukrainian and the US presidents to stop tomahawks from...
Yeah, and just in case, somebody hasn't been kind of up to speed on this whole reporting, one of the major aspects to this that people have been pointing out was basically Steve Witkoff, instructing, his Russian counterpart on how to, set up a phone call between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump just before, I believe it was an October 17th meeting before Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky, which was, supposedly supposed to entail, Tomahawk missiles. And, Zelensky kind of thought he was coming over here just to kind of finalize a deal type of thing. But Witkoff knew if he could set up a call between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump just prior to this meeting, that it would be Vladimir Putin's, last words. It would be Vladimir Putin's conversation that would be still ringing around Donald Trump's fucking empty, brainless, cavernous fucking dome that he has on his shitty waddle neck. But, he knows that would be what he would take into the meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky, and he would be more hesitant. He would be less willing to appease Volodymyr Zelensky and give him what he wanted, considering he just, was talking to Vladimir Putin. So Steve Witkoff, knowing that he can manipulate, knowing how Donald Trump can be manipulated, and using that information, using that knowledge to manipulate Donald Trump to enable the Russians to get a more beneficial outcome, right? So that Volodymyr Zelensky could be blocked, so that Volodymyr Zelensky didn't get the Tomahawks. Because Witkoff doesn't want Ukraine to have Tomahawks. He doesn't want Ukraine to win. He wants Russia to win. He wants Russia to have the most favorable terms. He thinks Russia wants peace, as it was said in the transcripts. That's what our fucking dumbass envoy thinks. So that's what the position we're in. So, she's 100% right in calling that out too.
Being sent to Ukraine, but even prevent sanctioning of Russia for the sake of what? Trust me, any cooperation between the United States and Russia is not profitable. It's not worth sacrificing your long-term friendship with at least the largest market, the European Union. So on these conversations, first, we clearly see that this so-called peace proposal, all of its 28 points were composed in Moscow.
Right. So I think, if you have time, if you have the inclination, you can go on and check out the rest of that from Anna from Ukraine. But, you can tell from her sentiment, you can tell that she's calling it so-called peace plan, calling it Russian propaganda, a Russian plan, a Russian piece of paper. Like the Ukrainians are not like jumping up for joy. They're not like celebrating the end of the war. They're not applauding this in any way like Donald Trump would have you believe. Like, oh yeah, the Ukrainians are really happy about this too. They're loving it. They're like anybody. Oh, are they? Because I'm listening to one right now, not very happy. And, just kind of drive home the point, we might as well listen to one of our other favorites here, somebody that we've looked at a lot and in the coverage of the war in Ukraine, which is the Ukraine Matters channel here in New York. And he's talking about the traitor and the inside secret deal that they tried to hide. So let's dive into this and we get a little bit more sentiment at what the Ukrainian people feel about all this.
Hey there, Georgie here with Ukraine Matters. Treason. Today we're going to be discussing treason in the midst of United States government. I believe recent leaks leave no doubt about it, and I'm going to try to make my case for why it is treason undoubtedly. But it's not going to be only talking about US. Today is actually going to be a hat trick of news revealing things that we were not expecting, and that Russia is a big part of those. So stay up for those and let's begin. We're going to start talking first and foremost about Comrade Witkov right over here, because he has built himself a...
Come on, you can't do that to me, Yogi, as I'm taking a fucking blast, my man. Jesus Christ. So they got him clearly in a Russian outfit. Clearly Steve Witkov's head on a Russian military outfit, which is very fitting for the time, very fitting for the moment.
Reputation that is pretty one-sided. There's a big Putin lover and a person that stated that he doesn't think Putin is a bad guy, and seen on the video meeting with Putin looking like a nice good old dog that is just wagging his tail at the sight of his master.
What do you think of him? I liked him. Yep.
But now Tovarish Steve is finding himself in a completely different scenario, because Bloomberg has released some of the most damning evidence of his collusion with Russians that entails basically working for the Russian state. In these tapes, we hear a couple of discussions. One, Steve Witkov talking with Yuri Ushakov, a Putin top foreign policy aide. And in the second conversation, Kirill Dmitriev, the closest contact Steve Witkov has from the Russian side, talking with the same Yuri Ushakov and discussing the potential for the peace proposal. The discussions they're having are leaving no doubt that the peace proposal has been written in the Kremlin and then handed over to Steve Witkov that presented this plan as US made.
I'm not getting the vibe that they're loving this. I'm just not getting the vibe that the Ukrainian citizens are like jumping for joy again and they're celebrating the end of the war and, you know, the independent. I'm not getting that sense. Are you guys getting that sense? I'm not. So obviously Donald Trump was speaking to the wrong people. I don't know. He's getting some bum information considering what he said on Air Force One the other day, yesterday, this morning. I forget when it was. I think it was yesterday.
Presented to Ukrainian allies, while also having strong discussions with the Russians and coaching them on how they should approach Donald Trump, that they should reach out to him before key visits from Zelensky and undermine the potential deal on Tomahawks that was about to be made, while also advising what exactly they need to tell to Trump and what exactly they need to do. And the only reason their plan failed is because they are completely incompetent and corrupt. So looking a little bit back into the timeline, US presidential envoy Steve Witkov, fresh from the triumph of the Gaza peace deal, held a phone call last month with a senior Kremlin official to suggest they work together on a similar plan for Ukraine, and that Vladimir Putin should raise it with Donald Trump. In an October 14th phone call that lasted a little over 5 minutes, Witkov advised Yuri Ushakov, Putin's top foreign policy aide, on how the Russian leader should broach the issue with Trump. And before we delve directly into the conversation, let's recap the timeline so we have it in mind.
And this is good to do, too, because this shows you just how, you know, this was blatantly set up to be just before Zelensky's meeting to hinder their meeting, to, again, affect change in the outcome of this war, of this meeting in particular. You know, Steve Witkov knowing how to manipulate Donald Trump. And it worked to a T. It worked to a fucking T. He knew that, you know, if Putin could speak to him long enough and get through a bunch of his bullshit, that Donald Trump would take that bullshit into the meeting with Zelensky and he would be less likely to give him the Tomahawks. It'd be less likely to appease him with whatever, you know, Zelensky came, you know, asking for, right? So it worked. That was his plan and it worked. So you can see here on the screen, it says October 13th, Trump addresses the Knesset as Israeli hostages were freed, right? So that's why he wants to, you know, he wants the Russians to congratulate Donald Trump for the Gaza peace deal. That's why that was, inside the transcripts, because it was happening right at that moment. And he knew that would also go to butter Trump's ass, right? He also knew that that would help, kind of set up the moment. It would definitely go a lot to appease Donald Trump, Steve Witkoff clearly knows can be done. But then on October 14th, that's when Steve Witkoff speaks to Ushakov and discuss the Putin-Trump call. On the 16th, Trump speaks with Putin for 2.5 hours. The 17th is when Zelensky visits the White House. So the 14th is when Witkoff speaks to Ushakov and says that the phone call to Trump and Putin, I believe he said, should take place Friday, which would make that the day before the Zelensky. And then, his counterpart, his Russian counterpart says before again, repeats it twice. And Steve Witkoff says, correct, before. It has to be before, because he knows, it would do, it'd be of no benefit to anybody if it were to take place after, considering it, Zelensky could possibly already have gotten what he needs by then. And it just, it wouldn't be any of any use to us. But then it says on, around October 24 to 26, Witkoff meets with Dmitriev in Miami. And then the 29th of October, Ushakov and Dmitriev discuss Russian strategy calls. So all within, between the 13th and the 29th of October, all of this taking place, basically.
October 13th, Trump is in Israel and addressing the Knesset.
Let's go on, because he goes on to talk about the rest of this phone call as well. So let's see if we can bring this up, this part here, just for the sake of time.
Commendation. Ushakov, yes, please.
And this is, again, a conversation, just in case you're unfamiliar with what's going on, unfamiliar with this matter. You're just joining us, watching us for the first time. If you are, I appreciate you for doing that. I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity. And yes, this is a conversation between Steve Witkoff, the special envoy to Donald Trump, and then Yuri Ushakov here, his Russian counterpart in this matter. And this is Steve Witkoff instructing his Russian counterpart on how to go about manipulating Donald Trump and manipulating Russia's stance in the negotiating process. So again, if you're just joining us, I appreciate it. Thank you. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm Boston Bryant. This is Blunt Politics. You're going to have a fabulous time in that chat. Some great people in there. But yeah, we're talking about and reading out how the transcripts here of these phone calls, of this conversation.
Witkoff, I would make the call and just reiterate that you congratulate the president on his achievement, that you supported it, that you respect that he's a man of peace.
And this goes even more in depth than we went the other day reading these transcripts. Say that you respect that he is a man of peace and that you're really glad to have seen it happen. So I would say that I think it's going to be a really good call. So basically just applaud him as much as possible, kiss his ass as much as possible. Say he's the best thing since fucking sliced bread. He's like the second coming of Jesus. If he could say that would be fantastic. That's what Steve Witkoff is instructing his Russian counterpart to tell Vladimir Putin to say in public, to make it, even better, to make that phone call, to set up that phone call. And then he goes on to say, because let me tell you what I told the president. I told the president that you, the Russian Federation, and this is again, Steve Witkoff, has always wanted a peace deal. Now, how delusional do you need to be? And how scary is it for us right now to be this far along in this war? And that we have these people in charge, not only in charge, but in charge of negotiations, in charge of fucking, I guess, capitulating on behalf of Ukraine. If you actually, if you look at what's going on, to sit here and say that they believe that it's the Russians that always wanted the peace deal. How could you be that naive? How could you be that ignorant? How could you be that swayed by, I don't know, the splendor of Moscow, I guess, in the times that you've been there, that you'd be that fucking deluded to believe that it's Russia that wants the peace deal? Do you not see what happens on a nightly basis? Do you not see the missiles, the drones, the ballistic missiles, and everything else that go into Ukrainian cities and villages? I mean, again, maybe you should watch this. Maybe you should watch this. Anybody that kind of has questions on it, and I know that nobody in my chat does, but maybe you should watch this, the 2,000 meters to Andriivka, the new Frontline PBS, documentary that we played a little bit of this morning. Just in case you want to get a taste of what's actually taking place, what's actually going on, and what's actually at stake. But yeah, he says here, that it was the Russian Federation that has always wanted a peace deal. He says, that's my belief. I told the president I believe that. Now, whether or not he actually believes that remains to be unseen, right? Because he says, I told the president I believe that, right? He says, that's my belief. I told them that's my belief. So I don't know if that's just something he got across, something he said to them, to kind of bullshit Donald Trump, knowing he's an idiot. I don't know. Definitely possible. But then he says, I believe the question is, the issue is that we have two nations that are having a hard time coming to a compromise. And when we do, we're going to have a peace deal. I'm thinking that we maybe set out like a 20-point peace proposal, just like we did in Gaza. We put out a 20-point Trump plan together that was 20 points for peace. And I'm thinking maybe we do the same thing with you. My point is this. And then, his Russian counterpart says, okay, my friend, I think that's very good. Our leaders could discuss. Hey, Steve, I agree with you that he will congratulate him. He will say that Mr. Trump is a real peace man, so on and so forth. And that he will say, and then they go on with the conversation a little further. So, I mean, you can see how detailed Steve Witkoff is here and exactly how he knows how to manipulate Donald Trump. He knows what other people need to do in order to manipulate Donald Trump in their meetings, in their phone calls. And he used that to his benefit because of his apparent love for Russia, his his affiliation with Russia somehow, his affinity with Russia. And wanting to help them as opposed to Ukraine and, even more of our allies. If, again, Russia were to get through Ukraine, it would put, again, the rest of Europe in jeopardy. So, I mean, we have to think about that as well. But here it is, black and white, clear as day, for you to see. Let me throw this on. Sorry. So you're not looking at that the whole time. But yeah, just so it's unbelievable how, black and white this is and how detailed and descriptive this was on the behalf of Steve Witkoff, trying to get, this guy coached up, trying to get him ready to go, psyched up for the fucking, what he has, you got to tell Vladimir Putin this, make sure he says this, and this, you got to make sure you come at it from this angle, because if not, we're not going to get what we want. And, unfortunately, Zelensky might walk out of there with Tomahawk missiles. Is basically what happened.
And you're just you're really glad to have seen it happen. So I would say that I think from that it's going to be a really good call, because let me tell you, what I told the president. I told the president that the Russian Federation has always wanted a peace deal.
Right, so we just read that. And just to kind of drill home the fact that, like, the reporting's all over the place. Like, do you remember what we played on the show the other day? I think I still have it up somewhere. Yeah, here was the article we showed on the show the other day. The full the full text of the European counter proposal. This was after the 28 plan. I think this was, I don't know, what was this one down to, 19 or something like that? I forget now because there's been so many. But, this was the counter proposal. But then I saw this just to kind of, just to drive home how, like, widespread the reporting was. Is the EU deliberately trying to scupper the U.S. peace plan? Clearly not somebody favorable, whatever this BNE IntelliNews is. I'm not familiar with them, but, that's not the point. Basically, this is talking about after the Geneva 28-point peace plan has been cut to 19 points, but the EU now has come up with its own 24-point plan. Right, so is it a 28? Is it 19? Is it 22? Is it 24? Like, what is the actual deal? And then, this one is being reported that there's no limitation on the number of soldiers in the armed forces of Ukraine. Love it. Ukraine's future NATO membership is not prohibited, and its neutrality is not required. Love it. Ukraine will have the right to deploy NATO forces on its territory. Love it. Security guarantees are to be modeled according to NATO 5. Okay. No territorial concessions is a starting condition, but border issues will be discussed after a ceasefire is in place, and Ukraine will be fully restored and will receive financial compensation using frozen Russian assets. Love it. Okay. But what this article is kind of purporting here is that the EU has deliberately made these demands that it knows that the Kremlin will not agree to. So basically trying to say that, putting these in there just to kind of hamper the peace process. And, I don't know. I still haven't seen what the totality of this new 24-point plan is. This is just, about 6 of the points there. It talks here about peacekeepers in connection with Russia's no NATO obsession, the idea of NATO forces on Ukrainian soil, anathema to the Kremlin. So basically, this is just giving their explanation as to why the Kremlin would never go for these specific points in this one. But again, you can see how kind of widespread the reporting is. Is it 28 points, 19 points, 22, 24, 36? Hot? Fucking what are we doing? Hail Marys here? I don't know. But again, this seems like the EU has now countered the NATO proposal or the other European proposal to the Geneva proposal to the original Kremlin proposal. Just go figure on that one. I don't know. Good fucking question. Good question. All right. So what time we got? Oh, we're kind of out of time. I don't know if we have enough time to dive into. So why don't we, with just kind of the remaining time we have, we'll pick up where we left off this morning. Might as well in this documentary. I think this is something we can all learn from, something that, is definitely kind of touched our lives now since we've been covering this for so long, having had the opportunity myself to, drive a fucking pickup truck through Ukraine and deliver it and hand it over to the Ukrainian military myself, fucking on foot, hand in hand, to have that connection is obviously definitely an eye-opening experience as well, and something I will never forget. But to know that this was continues to happen not far away from where I was, and how lucky and fortunate I was in my time in Ukraine. It goes a long way to show how we need to be continuously supporting our allies, continuously supporting Ukraine in this fight, and not bowing down and not normalizing relations with our enemy opposed and over our allies. So I think it's important. So for the last 5 minutes, I think we can kind of dive into this. Again, just be, if you didn't watch it earlier, viewer discretion is advised. Some of this is very hard to watch. I'll skip over anything, anything terrible or extremely graphic. It's not one of those documentaries per se. It does a great job of kind of bouncing back and forth. But yeah, this is the new one from the same people, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the same people that did 20 days in Mariupol. This is now 2,000 meters to Andriivka. So again, this is now 8 minutes and 53 seconds in. We did a little bit this morning. So I'll dive into it here. Yeah, you know what I'll do? I'm going to go back just a little bit just to kind of tie it all together, because this is now when they're in the armored personnel carrier. And you can see now where it says on the screen we're stuck. Apparently there was it was either stuck in the mud or it had some mechanical failure, and they're packed in there tight like sardines. And this is the moment where they realize they're not going anywhere in this vehicle and that they have to exit this this personnel carrier here. So we'll start here, and again, we'll stop it where we can and kind of explain things, but we only have a few more minutes anyway. So just to kind of, round out the show. You can see the driver frantically trying to get it unstuck. They're now considering, do we get out? So you can tell it's a desperate situation where the commander there is clearly instructing everybody to ditch whatever extra gear they need or whatever extra gear they have. Just take your weapon and the ammunition you can carry. This is not the time to be, carrying your knapsack and your rucksack and shit like that. Like, just let's get the fuck out of here. And you can clearly see in the battle area that they're in, it's heavily fought over. The trees are just no longer there. There's nothing there, and clearly under heavy Russian fire here. They just get out of the armored personnel carrier, and I don't know if it was a drone, artillery, mortar round, or whatnot, but one of their men gets struck over here on the left-hand side immediately after exiting the armored personnel carrier. And again, just to let you know, nothing too graphic or anything like that. I think he's broke both his arms, broke both his legs. I don't know if that's just from shrapnel or just, again, solid bone break or anything like that. But, again, nothing clearly to be seen here.
Права рука теж перебита. А це права. І ліва. Ліва теж немає. Дай другий перебитий. Ззаді 2 ноги перебив.
Піро на зв'язку, борт важкий 300. М-ка не їде, там щось наїбнулось. Ну, вся історія.
I mean, you can hear the constant fire in the background. Obviously, you can see the explosion there in the background. That was definitely either a tank round or artillery or something much more, I'd say, explosive than one of those little mortars that they were dealing with.
Пожалуйста. А то теж 300? Хто ще? Сука. Хто ще 300? Мороз 300, лисний 300. Пацани, давайте двигать. Ти перетягнув?
Він все, ну, у нього всі кінцівки при тому.
Всі кінцівки прибиті? Так. Знімай броню. Знімай броню, понесав. Залізеш на мене, понесу.
I mean, they're just fucking fearless, and they're just, it's incredibly admirable how quick they make their decisions. Like, okay, I mean, imagine being on the battlefield and you're like, all right, let's get this guy out of here. And then you find out he's got 2 broken arms and 2 broken legs. Like, that makes it significantly more difficult to extract him from this area, right? That's just, it's not like you're running with him. You know, it's not like he's limping and you just got to kind of carry him by the shoulder. Like, you're full on, you need probably 2-4 men at least to now get him out of there. And he's just immediately take your shit off, get as light as possible. We'll carry you the fuck out of here. We'll drag you if possible, but we're not leaving you behind. You know, don't even think about it. So whatever we need to do to get you out of here, we're going to do. And it was fucking in 2 seconds. He says it and thinks about it. You know? You see the tracer rounds going overhead. As the Russians are finishing off our guys. I mean, that couldn't have been more than, what, 10, 15 feet away when that went off. I didn't hear the buzzing, so I'm not sure if it was a drone. So this is when the guy that we're actually getting the footage from is hit with that strike, and he says, that's it, you know, I'm done, basically. And this is, you know, we'll end on this after this, but, you know, you can tell how, you know, unwilling his boys are, unwilling his comrades are to leave him, you know, reassuring him, don't worry, we'll be back. And, you know, this is kind of crazy of a situation because he ends up having to be left in a fucking crater, having to be left in a hole and just kind of, you know, trust that his comrades, trust that his boys will be back for him while he's under direct and heavy Russian fire. And it's crazy because, you know, on my trip to Ukraine, I had the opportunity to film an interview between Denver Riggleman and one of the Ukrainian soldiers that faced something very similar to what this, you know, these people are facing. He was wounded, he was injured, and, you know, basically his only hope was to lie in a ditch, was to lie in a hole for several days before people could find him and lie still, you know, and just hope and pray that you know, fucking you know, help would come as he's lying around dead comrades. So, you know, to see this, you know, basically in action filmed is pretty surreal to see, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
So he keeps saying, that's it for me, that's it for me. So his buddy over there says, bandage it and crawl. He gets a response of, brother, I can't crawl. And then you can see here in response, his brother's not letting it happen. He said, fucking, you can crawl. Other people crawled. This guy crawled. You crawled. You're going to fucking crawl. You're going to make it out of here. You can see the determination, right?
Знаешь, лысый пополз, Мороз пополз.
Says, yes, you can. Baldy crawled, Moroz crawled, and you'll crawl.
Знаешь, давай, бинтуй. А у мене перелом. А можеш перестати Піра? Давай, тащи, блядь. Давай сюди яму, Піра. Блядь, боляче, сука. Гектор, давай. Друже, кинь мене там як-небудь.
Я сам спорю.
Ні, пацани. Спасибо, вернусь. Вздумай тільки взривати себе.
And that's, I mean, that's, you can tell that that's an issue that they're dealing with, right? Because I don't know if you caught that part on the bottom line there, but he says, don't even think about blowing yourself up, right? So, you know, you can almost assume that a lot of these, your soldiers on the front lines, especially if they've been wounded in situations like this, are probably in a position where they don't want their soldiers, their fellow soldiers, their comrades to risk their lives to come back to save them. So they inevitably, I don't know, are you know, taking it into their own hands. So you can see here where he says, don't even think about it. We'll be back for you. Stay right here, stay calm, that sort of stuff. So, you know, you can tell the desperation and, you know, just exactly what they go through on a daily basis here on the front lines.
Вздумай тільки взривати себе. Поняв?
Бронь. Іди звідси.
Як так, давай.
Mortar's still coming in the background.
Я йду. Я вернусь.
You can see here where he says, I'll come back. And then the guy in the hole says, don't. Right? I mean, just very fucking dark, very, real and very, descriptive and of what happens on the front lines on a daily basis and what they go through here. But I mean, can you just imagine, in that situation and, your only hope is to lie as still as possible in this, 4-foot hole and hope and pray that your boys are able to make it back to you to save you. I mean, I don't know. It's just it's a situation a lot of us can't even possibly comprehend right now. And we're watching in real time our own government capitulate. Our own government tried to help the people that are causing this situation, that have caused this situation, and continue to perpetrate things like this on a daily basis. And it's frustrating. It's embarrassing. It's very shameful right now to be an American, whether it's, what's going on with ICE, whether it's, our own president destroying our own economy in the middle class and the lower class, whether it's how we're treating our allies and, our the people on the foreign stage. It's not a good time right now to be an American. It's very embarrassing. And, a lot of people are very hopeful that this time will be over soon, whether it's through like, was said in the chat earlier, through cholesterol or, whatever the fuck at this point. But all right, we're over time. I apologize for keeping you guys late. Let me make sure that I get everybody thanked on here so I can say, give my show of appreciation, give the shout outs to everybody that contributed on Venmo. You can also do, I'll put this up for the last couple minutes. And again, I don't want to seem greedy, but there's always sometimes where people don't do Venmo for one reason or another, and they do PayPal for something. So I'll put the PayPal up there in case you have PayPal. Whatever way you do that, it's very much appreciated. $1 or $2 is all I ask for. Anything above and beyond that is totally on you guys, depending on how much you like and enjoy the content, I assume. But all right, let's get into thanking some people. So I want to say thank you to Allison. Thank you so much. You and Damon. Garrett as well, Thomas as well. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. I really do just every day pinch myself that I still have, real amazing human beings that come and continue to tune in to watch what we have to say here on Blood Politics. So, again, I can't get through to you how much I appreciate you guys and everything that you do. So thank you again, Allison, Damon, Garrett, Thomas. Again, even people that were kind enough yesterday, JD, Jamie, Suzanne, Travis, Elaine, Jim, Suzanne, Yakov, I appreciate you, Joanna, Jamie again, Nancy, all of you guys have been absolutely fantastic. And I just can't thank you enough for supporting, independent creators like myself that are at least trying to attempt to do this the right way with no corporate sponsors, no backers, no ad revenue here boosting the channel by any means. Not selling you any fucking, selling you some, I got nothing here to sell you, but this has changed my life. I've been using this for 90,000 years and I can't do anything without it. Nothing like that. So again, we're trying to do it the right way. Nothing hidden behind a paywall. All my content is out there for you to see, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, whatever the fuck, YouTube. It's all over the place. It's for free. So check it out. I appreciate it. Sign up there. Let's get into thanking some people here on the old YouTube side of things. I really do appreciate it. Hold on. Did I see one more? Let me see. I think I saw this. Oh, thank you, Jen. I appreciate that so much. I really do appreciate that. I don't know. Oh, on Cash App. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate you. Thank you. I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving as well. Don't forget, we'll be on tomorrow, same time as normal. I don't know how long we'll stay on, but just want to come on and say hi to everybody, say happy Thanksgiving, give my show of appreciation as well. Let you know I'm thankful for you guys. But yeah, we'll be on tomorrow as well. So don't, if it doesn't interfere with your plans, if you haven't gone anywhere yet, hop on, say hello, say happy Thanksgiving. I would be appreciative if you did. But let's start it off here. David, what's going on, my man? Thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. I really appreciate you. Salute back to you, my friend. And thank you once again. You're very welcomed here in the old chat of Blunt Politics. That goes for JD as well, but you know that anyway, JD. We don't have to tell you that. Happy birthdays. Thank you for the happy birthday and happy Thanksgiving to you. Right back to you. I appreciate it. Jen was just speaking about you. Thank you and congratulations for being a member for 15 months. Incoming. I probably should have saw that earlier. That would have been very helpful earlier. I appreciate that. Thank you, Jen. That goes for C. Charlie C. Let's go. C. Charlie C. becoming a new YouTube member. Shout out to you, Charlie. Appreciate you. I'm sure you've never heard your name butchered the way that I butcher your name, but Charlie it is. Either that or Chuck. You let me know. If you can go by Chuck, I like Chuck too. I like a good Chuck. Everybody needs a good Chuck in their life. So if you want to be the Chuck, you can be the Chuck. But until that, we'll go with Charlie. All right. I appreciate you, brother. And Mark, what's up, Mark? Mark and Charlie. Back to back fucking Marks and Charlies. I love it. All right, Mark, I appreciate you. Deport Levitt now. I don't know how legal that is. I don't know how legal that would be. I would stay within the confines of the law, but I do get the sentiment. I do agree with and get the sentiment, but let's stay within the confines. Let's not become one, right? We want to defeat them, not become them. All right. I'm only kidding, but I appreciate you, Mark. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. If you're not around tomorrow, I appreciate you, brother. Be better 2024. Let's go. If you're becoming a new YouTube member, I remember you from this morning as well, and I appreciate you for coming back tonight. Thank you so much. You are recognized and appreciated. Just saying. Let's go. How are you? I appreciate you. Thank you so much for that one gifted membership. I hope anybody whoever received that gifted membership reaching out to Just Saying to make sure that we can thank her for being absolutely fucking fantastic. Mark G, once again, Trump will attack Venezuela by throwing eggs at them to further up grocery prices on America. That's only paper towels, Mark. That's only paper towels. He only throws paper towels. Eggs are way too heavy. Are you shitting me? He can't get a bottle of fucking water to his mouth. You think he's going to be tossing eggs anywhere? Only place he's tossing eggs is in the fucking toilet. But Mark, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for your kind and generous contributions, especially over the last few days. You've been amazing. You've been outstanding, and thank you. Thank you, Yvonne. I appreciate you. Good to see you. Hey, Boston Brian, how you doing? Doing well. Thank you for asking. Have you heard about Caroline Levitt's relative being arrested by ICE agents, ready to be deported? Her family are doing a GoFundMe. Are they? Like, which side of the family though? Because I guarantee it ain't Caroline's side of the family. Caroline's side of the family. I can tell you that much, right? I would assume it is, the side of the family directly related to the woman involved, if I had to guess. But let me know if I'm wrong. I appreciate you, Yvonne. Thank you so much for the 10 pound. I really do appreciate it. And the 10 memberships. Let's go. Big fucking night for Yvonne. I appreciate you, Yvonne. Make sure the 10 fantastic. Hold on. 20 back-to-back tenors. That's a back-to-back tenor. Let's fucking go. I appreciate you, Yvonne. Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. I know it doesn't make its way across the pond, but you know what I mean. Hope you guys celebrate in some sort of way, whatever you do over there. But thank you so much for the 20. That's 20 people in the chat that get a membership to Boston Brian. Thank you to Yvonne. Thanks to Yvonne. Make sure we're passing on our thank yous. And please, as I always say, if you do receive the gifted membership and, you find yourself enjoying the show and you find yourself, utilizing the membership or, enjoying the fact that you contribute to the show and helping it keep going, please think about re-upping on that membership after it expires, because what tends to happen if we have fantastic people, generous people like Yvonne here, gifting a ton of memberships all at once, what tends to happen is, people kind of forget, they don't see, it runs out, and then, that big spike that we have kind of turns into a big drop at some point. So, just think about it. I'm not, it's not forced upon you, but, if it's something that you enjoy and it's financially, feasible for you, please think about doing it. But thank you, Yvonne, for the 20 gifted. You have been fantastic and always are. Thank you, Independent. Congratulations on 18 months. Heroium Slava, back to you. And thank you. Right back to you. Mark G, back at it like a crack addict. I love it. And that's just a saying I did. That's nothing against you, my brother. Everybody that's watched this show knows that I say that about all things. So hopefully I'm not overstepping my boundaries on that one. But Putin's Russia wants a peace deal, a piece of Ukraine. Exactly. Exactly. Right. And, it seems to be exactly what they're getting. They're being coached on how to get exactly that by not only Steve Witkoff, but it's also being backed up by people like Marco Rubio, Donald Trump, and the rest of these assholes. So you're 100% right, Mark. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. Jen, again, it should be a 1-point plan. Russia gets out of Ukraine. Amen. Amen. Right. And again, what we saw here, which one was it? Was it, this one, right? This one that this article was so upset about, saying that it was like the EU trying to fucking, stir shit up and give, points that they knew the Kremlin wouldn't agree to. These are the best ones that I've seen so far. These are the best ones that I've seen so far, which are, exactly what we've been saying, points that the Kremlin will never agree to. Like, all right. Like, it's just not going to happen to, to this extent. It's not. But this is by far what we should be starting very more closely related to what we should be using as a baseline, as a starting point to these negotiations than what the fuck came out of the Kremlin. I can tell you that much. I can definitely tell you that much. Right. So, yes, you're 100% right and concur definitely with what you had to say. But let's get back to the thanking. Thank you, JD. Thank you, Jen. Again, once again, you're 100% right, and definitely should be a 1-point plan. And it's not too easy. Donald Trump's making it like difficult. We got to figure out what the border should be. How about, I don't know, open your phone, hit maps, look at where the borders are, right? And then we'll just use that. It's simple enough. Should be easy enough. I don't know. But thank you, Jen. I appreciate it. Thank you, JD. Extra radical leftist agenda bonus. I appreciate that. I'll use that. I'll split that. I'll go 5 for the swidge. And then 4 for the radical leftist agenda bonus, because, I think I swear, well, maybe I don't swear more than I'm radical. I don't know. That's been changed because Donald Trump has radicalized me so much over the last few years. I can't ever be sure anymore. But I appreciate you, JD. Thank you so much. Mark again. Let's fucking go. Up past my bedtime. Boston Brian to blame. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting I'm here on the West Coast. You guys are staying up late for me. I do appreciate you. But thank you, dude. I hope you get some sleep. But what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. You got time. You can sleep in. You can sleep in, unless you got one of them shitty jobs, like working on Thanksgiving, like, I don't know, maybe like a plumber. Because I know how that feels. But I thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. Moms, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Tree hearts right back to you. Tree at them right back to you. Thank you for that that $1.99. I really do appreciate it. And happy Thanksgiving in case you're not around tomorrow. Same thing with anybody else. If you got family, friends, things to do, don't worry about it. But, if it doesn't interfere with your plans, like I'm saying, and you get a moment to jump on and just hop in the chat, say happy Thanksgiving, that would be fantastic as well. But moms, thank you so much. Congratulations on being here for 13 months as well. Happy Turkey Day to everybody, says moms, and right back at you from everybody here. Right back at you. Thank you, Victor, as well, for the 15. Thanks, Brian, to you and everybody in the chat. Have a great Thanksgiving. Well, that's very nice of you, Victor. I appreciate that. To you and yours as well. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, and thank you so much for your support for Ukraine as well. We very much appreciate it. It's recognized, and like I said, it's definitely appreciated. And then, I mean, it's just fitting that we rounded off with Mark. Mark's had such a fantastic showing here. I am not easily offended, Boston Ryan. All right, good. Well, you're in the right fucking place then. You're in the right fucking place. I appreciate it. I'll let you guys get to bed now, or whoever's staying up to consume more independent media, independent creators. Make sure, if you're in the position to do so, you're supporting them. But again, if I give you the most bang for your buck, the most entertainment, the most information, the most education, whatever it is, if I kill the most time in the day, think about supporting the channel. I would appreciate it. Hit the like, at least subscribe to the channel. That's the free stuff. Throw an emoji in the chat. I would very much appreciate it. To the mods, thank you so much. Again, if any of the mods, if you can't hop on tomorrow during the showtime, if you got family or friends, anything, don't worry about it. No sorries, no apology, nothing like that. You do your thing. I hope you guys have a wonderful Turkey Day, Thanksgiving Day. Don't eat too much, but those that can hop on, those that do want to tune in and just kind of pop in for a minute and say happy Thanksgiving, we'll be there for you. All right. I appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving to those that will not be around. And to those that don't celebrate, I hope you have a wonderful and fantastic rest of your week. Or I'll see you tomorrow. I don't know. Either way, you choose. hit that notification bell. That'll let you know when we go live. That way you don't even have to decide. But I appreciate it. Stay loud, stay proud, stay aggressive. Keep your head in a swivel when you go out there. Make sure you're staying safe. I appreciate it. Find your nearest protest. Find your nearest rally. And I'll see you tomorrow for our Thanksgiving meetup. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. Any good Thanksgiving songs? I don't know. I never heard any Thanksgiving songs. But that's it. I'll see you. I'm Boston Brian. This is Blood Politics. I'll catch you tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. Thank you, Everett. Happy Thanksgiving, buddy. Thank you, Susie, Veronica, Artist, BJ, Wes, Lady, J, aka 22. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rock. Thank you for everything. I appreciate it. You ranting today? All right, I'll have to check it out. Check it out. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Chantel. Thank you, Dave. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. That's true. That's true. That's true. Score. What do we got for a score there, Chief? Give me a fucking update. You're getting really sloppy with these updates in the chat. You used to give me an update every now and again. Now I got to do it all myself. I don't have enough going on. I love you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Tell Carl hi.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. And God bless the United States. It's a new form of vicious violation to our country. The kidney has a very special place in the heart. It's an incredible thing. They're just getting acclimated. You know what that means? Acclimated. We are a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will This week it was reported that an illegal and you just look at this, what's happening.
I'm standing up here bashing the living shit out of Nazis.
Gifting production to Thailand and to Vietnam.
Always calling me Little Marco. And I'll admit, the guy, he's taller than me, he's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2".
For the rest of my life, I have the curse that I have little hands. Little hands.
Here you got a little chubby going there.
He says, rectum damn near killed him.
Taking it back to Nevada where he's wanted for banging horses.
We appreciate those camels. I haven't seen camels like that in a long time.
Fucking Nazis.
He builds the wall the way he built Trump Towers. He'll be using illegal immigrant labor to do it.
Man, I ain't falling for no banana in my tailpipe.
We always do about this time.
You'll have a group of Venezuelan killers, street gangs, occupying the town with MK-47s. I know that gun very well. I got to know it very well. I've become an expert on guns. Just this week it was reported that an illegal and you just look at this, what's happening. Venezuela? Did you just see Maduro? Venezuela. It's unbelievable. We've endorsed JP, right? J.D. Mandel. Wrong.
Tell the director to call the White House. Do your fucking job!
Bad news, bad news. Even when it's good news, it's bad news.
Call them dumps, big massive dumps.
Brian, you're drunk. You're drunk.
Eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there.
My superpower is being honest. I will eat my neighbors.
Get off my plane.
Oh, get those lights off!